action.
Welcome to an Intentional Marriage Podcast. We are Kristen and Chad, your hosts, and we are here to discuss all things marriage to help you build your marriage. Because you know why?
We know
great marriages don't just happen. You have to be intentional.
Yes, you do. And Kristen, today's a really good topic
as
we're going to jump into something we call navigating differences. And you know, they always say opposites attract. And
yes.
But we're going to jump into that a little deeper today because sometimes that opposites attract and sometimes those opposites start rubbing a little...
Annoying.
Yeah, a little... but I never annoy you, do I?
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Still?
Yep.
Okay, true stories. But we have to learn to navigate these differences.
Yes.
But let's go back.
Okay.
You know, in our first episode, we talked kind of our beginning and meeting in college. Talk about back then those differences or what maybe we came to like or not like about each other back then. And what was not to like?
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Okay.
You're already starting to see it.
Well, I think, yes, it's true. It's just a general principle. Opposites attract. I think it's safe to assume we can all start there. And there's like scientific proof that, you know, different neurotransmitters are emitted because this person is so different than us that it's like drawing us to the other person. There's actually this chemical reaction, but anyway, we won't go there.
I thought it was my sexy body.
Yeah, it's all that. But okay, so you know why we are attracted to differences? Because for that very reason, they're different. Like, oh, this person, I never would have thought of that, or I've never done that. That sounds exciting. Let's try that. You know, I really like this person and I enjoy being with them. So we're willing to try different things to be with them. And so I think there's a natural progression that goes along with relationships when it comes to these differences. So like you said, the first step is we're attracted to this person. Yeah. Oh, they're different. This is cool.
What I like, can I share a story back?
Okay.
So, of course, we met in college. Man, I loved first of all, you were drop dead gorgeous.
Oh,
you're from Michigan, all those qualities. But there was just something about you. And if anyone knows my wife, anybody knows you, you light up a room. When you come in, you're bubbly. People feel like, oh, you're like a breath of fresh air. And that's how I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be around you. You just have this drawing attraction.
Your neurotransmitters were firing.
I was firing. I'm like, yeah, and she's really good looking. And so all these things. But I was really drawn to that. I was really drawn. And we were first just kind of hanging out, running into each other. We'd say, hey, let's meet for lunch. And all of a sudden, I would meet you for lunch, and there'd be 4 or 5 people with you because you just saw people in class or you're talking in the halls. Hey, come on to lunch. And like, oh, look at this. This is cool. We'd have a big group, 6, 8, 10 people at lunch. You know, because when you're at college, you're meeting people, and you're open. We didn't have all the social media connections.
Right.
And so you're having a conversation. But all of a sudden, we kind of started dating.
Okay.
And now we were more... It was
exclusive.
Exclusive, yeah. You know, even to the maybe holding hand level when we could. And then all of a sudden, she was still inviting some people to lunch. Oh, no big deal. But all of a sudden, she's still inviting, there's some other good-looking guys meeting at lunch, too. And I'm just like, huh? What are you doing?
I don't remember this, to be honest.
I do. And I was like, what is she doing? And I think I said something to you about how come you're inviting these guys or how come, just being nice and being friendly because that's who you were.
Okay.
And that's what drew me. But being a male, knowing how other males think, I was like,
Okay.
And so it bothered me. And then I remember it was probably we were just dating a month or so. You told me this one guy keeps contacting me. This one guy, we'll call him Jim to save me, kept contact. And I was like, what? And you go, I told him to stop that we're dating, but he keeps calling. And so I remember we were at a place and all of a sudden I saw him go into the bathroom.
I do remember this
and
part.
I said, I'm going to the bathroom. And you said, what are you doing? I said, I got to go talk to somebody. And so I followed this guy right into the bathroom, and I went right up to him, and I didn't say real nice things. Of course, I was at a Christian school, but there was no one around. And basically I said,
Step off, George.
Step off, George. Stay away from Kristen, and not too nice of words. But it was the things I loved about you. Now, her personality is attracting other people by accident, and I didn't like that. I started not liking that.
Well, and I will flip that to say that was one of the reasons, not that particular incident, but that quality of yours is what attracted me to you. Was you were strong. You had this confidence. You knew what you wanted. You went for it. You didn't let people stop you. You challenged things that got in your way. And I was drawn to that strength and confidence because I was more a people person that erred on the side of people pleasing. And I don't like conflict still to this day. I'm getting better, and you weren't afraid of it. You just went head on into it. And so I think that right there, that illustrates the biggest area of our differences, because when it comes to differences, it really comes down to, is this personality or is this preference? You know what I mean? Like, those are our different, like, there's some things innate in us that we're just not going to change in the other person. Like I am a people person. I'm never going to not be a people person. It's like that introvert, extrovert, even I would say neat and messy, like that's innate in me too. I can't just suddenly become a slob.
Or is that a preference?
Well, see, I did think about that, but I think that's personality. But, if you're a late person on time, thinker, feeler, those are innate things. The preferences are, do you like to sleep with the fan on? Do you prefer, your tomatoes on tacos cut small or chunky?
I'd say a preference. You like folding up my shirts this way.
Yes.
Or you like my underwear this way in the drawer. Those were preferences. Yes. I learned how to fold them or put in my drawer one way. Just throw them in. They're all clean. Right. You wanted them a certain way. That was a preference you had that we had to learn over time. This isn't worth fighting.
Right.
This is an easy, simple compromise.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the progression that happens. So first of all, you're attracted to these differences because, they're different. It's new and it's exciting and you want to be with this person. Then you get married and you live with this person now. And now these differences are up in your face every day. They're affecting you. They're affecting your choices. They're driving
you nuts sometimes.
Well, and so then if it affects you in a negative way, it starts to annoy you. Ooh. So we move from this attraction, these were great and I'm attracted to you, but now I'm annoyed because I can't believe you just did that or said that. That was different than the way I would have said or done. And so now it's affecting us on a daily basis. We're annoyed. But this is where, we can't stay in this place. We have to figure out a way forward.
Yeah.
We're not going to stay in the attraction. We're not going to stay in the annoying. How do we move forward?
We didn't know that at the time. We were just plowing through.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And I think of our years 6 through 10. You talk about that 7-year itch. Our 6 through 10 were extremely hard. We just had our third kid. So we had Carly, Alex, and then Cameron. And our third one, Cameron, was extremely difficult.
Whew, he was busy.
And I was teaching. I was now a varsity basketball coach. I was gone all the time. And oh my gosh, did we butt heads. We didn't know if we were going to survive.
Right.
And we would survive, I felt, if Kristen would be more like me and do the things like I do it, or parent how I parent, or whatever, cook like I cook, things would be a lot easier and we wouldn't clash. So I spent 3-4 years pointing fingers at you, trying to get you to change this big list I had.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't actually have a list, but in my mind, would do it like this, or that's dumb, that's stupid. What do you think? I literally would say those things.
Mm-hmm. He would.
And because it would be a lot easier if you did it like this. Because to me, I thought, I was confident.
Were right.
I was right. And so you go ahead and jump in, Kristen.
Oh, you mean, did I already share this on a previous episode, how I bought you a button for Christmas one year and I put it in your stocking that says, I'm right and you're stupid?
I'm right and you're stupid. Because that
was your mentality.
Well, unfortunately, I had a way to not just come across to make people know that I was right, but to make them feel stupid, put down.
Yes.
In their idea
Yes.
was dumb in the process.
Right.
Wow, did I have a lot of work to do.
Whew,
but I
you've
kept
come a long
pointing
way.
at you for what I thought your shortcomings were as
Yes.
a wife, as a mother, versus looking at myself.
Yes. And ultimately, I think that's what differences are meant to bring balance to our relationship, make us a better person, broaden our perspective, and just bring beauty to our life experience. That's really what differences are meant to do. Like, I thought of this, that when we kayak, one time it was like God kind of dropped this idea into my mind when we were kayaking, and I'm just so busy focused on, I was looking at the flowers and I was looking at the trees and the foliage and just how pretty it was. And you were over there, kayaking, and you're pointing at the birds or the fish and the ducks and the waterfowl. And if you hadn't have pointed those out, I wouldn't have seen those. But because I pointed things out to you that you didn't see, you pointed things out to me that I didn't see, we were able to enjoy the experience in a much broader way just because we see things differently. And I really feel like that's a good illustration as to how our differences are meant to bring balance, broaden our perspective, make us a better person. Because like Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, the longer we're married, the more we sharpen each other and rub off each other's rough edges. And the differences give us that opportunity to do that. Yes. So here's the thing, though.
Let's go back.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back to those years 6 through 10. Kristen, what was the turning point? Where did it get to the point where we said, I can't fix you.
Right.
I have to fix the three fingers pointing back at me. What changed? How did we come to that realization? Do you remember that?
Well, I think it was just the bruises on my forehead from banging my head against the wall so many times and realizing this is not going to change and all I'm doing is getting a headache.
What's it? You mean me?
Yes, you are not going to change. Like I said at the beginning, when it comes to personality, we are not going to change the other person. We have to come to this place of like self-awareness to where, okay, I can't change you. I can only change me. And I can change my attitude to think, okay, you know what? Differences are for a very good reason. God made us this way, like I just shared, to all the benefits of differences. But I can't change you. I just have to change me. And what in me needs to change, is this an area of self-growth? You know what I mean? Like what was bothering me towards you was that you, like I said, your confidence and your strength attracted me, but it was kind of sometimes the way you would go about it, the intensity level. And so not only did I have to change my mindset and say, you know what? Okay, differences are not bad. Differences are not wrong. Differences are meant for a good purpose. So, okay, just like red and blue, they're you're equal, your preferences, your personality, they're equal just like mine are. And so I also think changing your approach as to how you approach the other person when it comes to these differences.
Yeah, that's good, because I want to go back, and I think it was year 10. I keep pulling back the story because this is really where we learned. We kind of came to this realization. I don't know how many fight after fight, week after week, year after year. We are both to the point that we were like, and divorce wasn't an option.
Right. Murder was, but
murder
divorce
was in our mind.
Right.
It went across our mind. But we both came to this realization around the same time period that I'm like, I love her so much. Maybe I, in my stubbornness, need to listen to how I'm acting is making her feel. And once I started realizing what I'm saying is right, but she always used to say this to me: you may be right, but wrong at the top of your voice. And that sunk in, it started sinking in, that what I was saying a lot of times was accurate, but how I was saying it wasn't making her feel good. So all of a sudden, I did it out of love. Like, I wanted to say the truth, but maybe I need to package it different, say it different. Maybe I need some help in this area. And so I know we then started going to some marriage classes at church. We started reading some marriage books because I had to learn how to do it different. I couldn't change my personality, my core of who I am, how God designed me, made me.
Yes.
But I could do it better because I could speak the truth, but I never added the love part.
Right.
And that was to realize I love her, but I'm hurting her.
Yes.
I don't want to hurt her. So how do I do this? And so once I came to the realization that I need to start softening these rough edges,
yes,
or whatever, how you say that, then I could be the husband you need me to be.
Yes.
I wasn't going to change who I was.
Right. But you could become better.
Yes.
And that's what I think differences are meant to do. Just help us become better individuals. So then, what makes a great marriage? Two healthy spouses. Then you can have a healthy marriage because your marriage is only as healthy as the least healthy individual. And so to become better people makes for a better marriage. We can't change our spouse. We can only change ourselves. And, I was thinking of back to that progression too of, we're attracted to differences, then they annoy us. And then we have a choice, like what at that point of annoying, and you chose to be better. You're like, okay, I can't change, I can only change me. But some spouses never get to that point and they just kind of accept like, okay, I guess this is the way it's meant to be. And I'm just going to live with this kind of like this resigned feeling like, oh, it's never going to get better. But that's not the best. That's not a good way to be. We have to do the work to become better people, to have a better experience.
We have to be intentional. But what I want to encourage couples out there is it takes time.
Yes.
It takes practice.
Yes.
And you're still going to stub your toe. I'm still stubbing my toe. Just this week, Kristen had said something, and my first reaction was, don't think that way. I was like, And so it's a work in progress. Our marriage is a journey.
Yes.
Through time, and we're getting better. We're getting closer. We're getting more unified. But we're still going to make mistakes.
Yes.
And part of that is forgiving. It's working. But I don't want to hurt Kristen.
Right.
I want to love her. I want to be the best husband I can be for her because I love her. But again, I would just encourage you and spouses, when they make one mistake, when your spouse has a step back it's okay.
Yes.
They're trying.
Yes.
And that's what you have to look at is you're still making those steps forward. Again, I keep using me as a reference because I was so brash and curt and short. I had to knock that off because it was hurting the relationships around me.
Right. Well, and I always like to get down to the nuts and bolts of why and we could talk about this all day, but I really think it just kind of boils down to, all right, is this a personality issue? Is this a preference? If this is a preference, okay, is this really worth fighting over? And I think when it does come to differences too, we do, like you mentioned, we have to give up ourself. It's an opportunity to die to self every day, marriages, to make it work. Because if we're just constantly...
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Well,
die to
giving
self?
up our right to be right, giving up our selfishness, like, well, I want the towels folded this way. I want you to do this. Okay, you know what? So you do it that way. I do it this way. Oh, it's okay.
Certain things are okay.
Yes. Like, all right, and certain things we just take turns. If you're going to, if you're doing it this, I'm trying to think like, all right, I drive one way, you drive another. And you know what? It's okay. If you want to go 10 miles over the speed limit and whatnot, just let it go. That's who they are.
I've been trying to give you driving lessons our whole marriage.
Yeah, exactly. But if this is really a personality issue, we're not going to change the other person. But we can change ourselves. We can change our attitude. We can change our approach. And I think the approach ties into using that phrase that we always recommend, I feel when I need. And to say, I feel just disrespected or dismissed or belittled when you just come at me so hard like that. I know you're confident and I know you're strong and that's what attracted me to you. But you know what? it's making me feel this way when you do it. And so I just need you to soften things a little bit. I need you to maybe pause before you respond. And so, like I can't change you, but I can tell you how it's making me feel.
Yes.
So that's what I mean when I say change our approach. And that ultimately it's helping you become a better person and making for a better marriage. And same, you do the reverse for me too. Like, hey, I remember you used to tell me when we'd come home from places, you were just the life of the party everywhere else. And I love that about you. But then you come home and you've given so much to other people that you have nothing left to give to me. And so I feel neglected and I need some of your energy. And that makes me a better wife and a better person to be aware. It makes our marriage better. And it just brings balance to our relationship. So I think to view differences as bad or wrong is harming us.
This thought just came to mind. Kristen, there are some couples out there, and I know we were one of those years ago, that you didn't feel like you could share it with me. Because I might react, I don't act that way.
Right.
I don't do that. I could give it, because some spouses, they get defensive.
Yes.
What are some things you did or you learned over years that helped us get over that hump? I think of the emails or then text.
I think
before we'd have the conversation, and we'll come back later. And
I was going to say, I think this is a conversation for another day, and we can talk about that. But there was different techniques and approaches that.
Just give one.
Like I said, okay, you we both need time to process, but I would text you and give you a heads up, or email. This was maybe even before texting. Yeah. I'd give you an email to say, hey, I just want to share something with you. It's making me feel this way. I need you to just think about this. Yes. Take your time on your drive home from work or whatever. Process this, but this is how I feel when you are doing this. And so I need this. And so sometimes, yes, we might not be able to have that conversation face to face, but we can preface the conversation. We can, you know.
And I appreciated that because you set up that conversation. You let me process without me going off. I get to think, yeah, you know what? You're right. And then our conversation was really good. So that's it just came to mind, a quick tip for those of you that are going, I'd like to tell my spouse or point this out or share, but I don't feel like I can, or I don't feel like they'll listen. That helped me, and I think it helped us. We don't really do that as much now because we communicate, but that early on in our marriage was very helpful.
Well, and I like to remember we were told people can't argue with your feelings. Your feelings are valid, whether you feel one way and I don't see it that way. I can't argue with your feelings because that's how it makes you feel. And so really leading with that, your spouse can't really come back and go, no, you don't. You don't feel that way. Well, yes, I do. This is how it makes me feel. And so, but again, it just comes down to choosing the way of love and selflessness. There's always going to be, we're two different people with different makeups, different desires, different preferences, different ways of seeing it. So our differences are never going to go away. It's just how we navigate through them in a healthy way that's going to draw us closer, make us a better person, broaden our perspective, bring beauty and balance to our relationship.
I think you're right, Kristen. I think those differences it complements our marriage.
Yes.
Because you are so good in things that I'm not, and vice versa. So if you look at it as it's bringing you together as one thought, it's so much better than looking at that as a bad thing. And so differences it's a tough, because I know the annoyance. I know how he chews it too loud, or he gulps to this, or those are the little things. But those aren't those differences that we're talking about today. We're talking about those personality things that we can change by changing ourselves, by looking at how I do it. And we do it because of the love we have. Because I love you so much, Kristen. And it makes me think of scripture in the Bible and what Jesus did. He loved us so much, even when we didn't deserve it, that he died for us. And so we have to do that same thing. When you said dying to self, it's because I love you, I want to do these
Change
things,
me.
change
Yes.
me, not change you. And
Yeah.
that's just the hard part because our human side comes up. But
Yes.
again, what's it worth to you? Your marriage is worth fighting for. It's
Yes.
worth doing these things. So as we encourage you here to be the best husband you can be, the best
Best wife,
spouse
yep.
you can be, you've got to really celebrate those differences. Okay, compliment those differences and work through them. Because it's so valuable, so important.
Right. Yep. We can't change our spouse, but we can change ourselves. We can change our attitude to say, you know what, different isn't bad or wrong. Difference is good. It's a good thing. And we can change our approach in pointing out these differences and how they're affecting us. So I think maybe that's the intentional action step we can leave today. You know what? Have a conversation. Decide if this is personality, if this is preference, and just how can I show love and
And be a better person.
Be a
a
better-
better husband.
and be a better wife.
Yeah,
So,
it's supposed to be.
all right, you guys. Well, I think that's it for today. And
Thanks for joining us.
yes, thank you so much.
If you're, real quick, if you're out there, like, share,
subscribe,
do
all that good
fun
stuff. Yes.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thank you so much. And you know what? Remember, great marriages
Marriages
don't just happen. You have to be intentional.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.